Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering of the platform is a public speaking course called Teach the Geek to Speak. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Matt Picardal. He is a civil engineer who hosts his own YouTube channel. It's called Structural Engineering Life. The goal of the channel is to help engineers with technical, business, and soft skills. And he's also the co-host of the Structural Engineering Channel podcast. I'm looking forward to learning more about his interest in civil engineering, of course, the YouTube channel and the podcast, and ways in which public speaking has benefited him throughout his life. Thanks for coming in, or thanks for being here today, Matt.
Yeah, no problem, Neil. Thanks for inviting me and excited to be on.
Wonderful. So I said in your intro that you studied civil engineering. Where did the interest in civil engineering come from?
The interest from civil engineering was, for me, it was really when I was in school, I wanted to work on buildings, but it didn't come naturally. I had to do a lot of studying to keep up with kind of all the technical stuff. But then once I kind of got into it, the design aspects of designing buildings, that's what I knew the field that I really wanted to go into, just because it had like a bigger impact and I like the statics, actually using math to, benefit society, something bigger than myself, like designing buildings that people can use and that my family could use, and really just contributing. I think that was like a big aspect for me, like the work that I do using all the skills that I learned at school to help society out.
That's a very noble reason to go into the engineering discipline. I became an engineer because my father told me to.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, because like, I know there's other reasons to go into it. The money is good, but I mean, if you're looking for money, there's a lot of other ways to make a lot more money than a civil engineer. So kind of finding that balance of something that I like to do, it pays well, and then it also kind of gives me a purpose. It wasn't boring, and I felt good about the work that I was doing too. So kind of having all those three kind of just made me push for going into that career.
You have a good reason for going into engineering, Matt. My reason is horrible. I mean, I know you're trying to be polite and not say that, but I know that for a fact. Anybody listening, don't go into something because your parents tell you to. Go into it because you actually find it interesting.
Exactly. I know my parents wanted me to become a nurse, but I know that was like, that's why I did my best to be like, no, I really don't want to become a nurse, because I knew like it wasn't a good reason, like you're saying, because you can't like spend the rest of your life doing something that you don't want to go into. Like you can spend 4 years studying for something you don't want to go into, but then now you're in it for the rest of your life. Now it's kind of like, I don't think you have that fuel, or anyone has that fuel to get into a career that they're not initially like interested, because it's not going to last forever. Kind of like that motivation is going to go down once you're a couple years in, or then you're 40 years in, and then you don't like what you're doing. So it's like, you make a good point, like really get into something that you're interested in, because it's going to be your fuel for the next couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's the point I mean, I get the sense that for a lot of people when they're in high school, if they're good at math and science, people just say go into engineering. That just seems like the natural thing to do, but not really. I mean, you certainly could do that, but you could and then enter the profession and you realize, yeah, I'm good at math and science, but I don't really like this work.
Exactly.
So you could definitely keep that interest in math and science, but do something else. So anyone listening, again, don't study something because someone tells you to. Do it because you actually want to do it, and you're more likely to stick with it. Luckily, it worked out for me. Engineering turned out to be all right, but man, if it hadn't, I'd be pretty miserable.
Yeah, exactly. It's good advice. Just don't do it because your parents just tell you to. Really try to find something you're interested in, and if you're good at it, then that's when I think you'll find that balance of having the work you do and getting paid for it because you're good at it and you like it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're on the same page there, Matt. I noticed also that you got a master's degree in structural engineering. What was the motivation for that?
That one, I figured out later in my bachelor's degree that, at least in California, because we have seismic designs, which is, it's basically another layer of things that you need to learn in order to design buildings in California because of earthquakes. And I figured out that the master's degree, that's where you learn all that stuff, a lot of all the seismic design and a lot of the earthquake design. So it was kind of almost a requisite to jump into the structural engineering, civil engineering field if you want to do buildings. And that's mainly because, like I said, the earthquakes. So for me, that was like a really good reason to get into my master's, not just because it looks good, but it's almost, it was almost essential, at least for me, because, hey, if I'm going to be designing buildings for earthquakes, I should know as much as I can about earthquake engineering. So it wasn't just like, it wasn't just a jumping into it just because, you know, it looked good or I couldn't find a job. It was for me, I did like, do I need this? And is it worth the time commitment? And my end goal was to work in California. So all that aligned with that goal. So that was one of the reasons I got my master's, and I don't regret it, at least, because it really did reinforce a lot of the concepts that I'm still using at work today.
Interesting. So just getting the master's was enough. Getting a PhD was unnecessary.
Yeah, a PhD for me wasn't worth the extra time commitment just to get that PhD, especially if I wanted to work in the industry. I know, at least from what I see in the industry, a PhD won't get you that much far ahead in terms of building design. It's good, but it's not as, I guess, beneficial, like putting in another 4 years, and you know, you're not going to get that much ahead of in terms of the building industry. So kind of looking at the payoffs and the time commitment and even the time investment, like I could be getting 4 years of experience in the design industry versus getting 4 years of kind of theoretical knowledge that won't do too much in the end goal of designing buildings. So at least for me, that's the way I looked at it. That's why I didn't get my PhD.
Forget 4 years of experience. That's 4 years of money. Damn it!
Exactly.
You go for a PhD program. There's an opportunity cost there. That's time that you
Yeah.
can't be making that money. And just like you said, if you're not going to get that much more with a PhD than having a master's, why bother?
Yeah, I think PhD, if you want to go into academia, yeah, great, you know. But at least for my goals, working in the industry, like you said too, the time commitment, time investment, what you could be doing with that time and the money, because you're paying money for that too. So yeah, really looking at it, not just get the degree, but really the time and the money that it takes to get it.
I noticed that you also have your professional engineer certification. Is that something that you needed to do to advance in your career? What was the motivation for getting your PE?
Yeah, for the PE, that in our industry, it's definitely one of those things that can really boost your career uh, in terms of, now you can start your own firm. Now you can stamp drawings. Now you're basically a real engineer that can that that can really boost you up professionally. And I know for me, that was one of the things to, at least in career goals, because that is one of the goals of a lot of civil engineers, to get their PE. That way, they're a lot more marketable in our industry. So yeah, that was the main motivation. It would really reinforce my career development.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, it's a very difficult test. So if you're going to do such a thing, there has to be some kind of payoff for it. Luckily, well, I'm glad that it's worked out for you, or at least I'm assuming it's worked out for you. Has it?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things that once you get it, it's kind of like, now you don't have to, it'll put you a step above in terms of, if you're ever looking for a new job, you're a lot more marketable. Just having that PE designation, it kind of puts you a tier above like the rest of the people that are graduating from college. It kind of shows that, hey, you've been in the industry, you have practical experience, and you're kind of been, I don't know, vetted out. Of course, there's some PEs that, you know, there's good and bad ones, but it does put you in terms of marketability a step ahead of everyone else. And I think it does give you a lot of advantages in terms of well, opportunities that can come your way. You're a lot more marketable, at least in the civil engineering industry.
As a civil engineer, are there other certifications that are beneficial to have?
Specifically for structural engineers, the ones that do a lot of building design, there's the structural engineering license that comes after the PE. So that's one of the things that I'm actually studying for. It's a structural engineering focused certification. And yeah, that one's actually pretty tough too. And I'll be taking that in October, but that's another one that I'm aiming for.
Okay, wonderful. In relation to the job that you've had previously, how have they prepared you for the job that you have now?
For me, like I'm still with the same company that I've been working for. I've been with this company for 5+ years. So it's pretty much, I'm still doing it, and it's prepared me in terms of like all the other stuff I do, like all the stuff that I do, like with the YouTube channel, with the structural engineering podcast. They've been supportive of that. So they've really encouraged me to keep going with those platforms. And I'm using a lot of stuff that I'm learning at work to basically make content for like my YouTube channel, like all the lessons that I'm learning that if you're a new engineer that's starting out, that you wish someone would have taught you. So a lot of the industry related stuff, a lot of the content that I do. And in terms of the podcast too, kind of seeing what the insights are in terms of the industry. So it's really helped me in terms of that way, but it's also all the stuff that I'm doing on the side too. It's helping me in my work too, because kind of like what you're saying is the soft skills, public speaking in front of clients, speaking in front of your peers. It's really helped out that too. Just so I think both of those things, the job that I'm holding now, and then all the social media stuff that I'm doing, they're boosting my skills both ways. Both of those things are helping me out in my career and in my YouTube channel and podcasting. So that's one of the things that's been really great, kind of that synergy between both of those.
Wonderful. It's great that both of those things have been kind of mutually reinforcing each other. So that's great. When it comes to the YouTube channel, what was one day you must have been sitting one day and said, I need to do a YouTube channel. And then you did the YouTube channel. So what was the motivation for doing the YouTube channel, and what do you hope people get out of it?
Yeah, sure. We were recruiting like interns at a career fair, and then I was talking to the students and for an internship, and they still didn't get that. They were still pretty fresh in terms of industry knowledge. Like I would have thought they would have like Googled how the industry works and stuff like that, because that's what I did back in my day when I was like trying to look for my first job or first internship. I Google stuff, and when I was doing it back in the day, there was like all this negative stuff. I'd go on like Reddit and like find people that like hated their lives, and so a lot of negative stuff about like this type of engineering. And so I just ignored it, and then I went into the industry and thought like someone would put positive content out there for structural engineering. And then after that career fair, I saw that I went online, and there still wasn't anything positive a lot of the structural engineering industry. And I found that unfortunate, because I thought I was fortunate to like be designing buildings, and I really enjoyed the things that I do at work, and really fortunate to have this career, and it's done so much for me. And I see that the students weren't getting that. So for me, making that YouTube channel is kind of bridging the gap between academia and industry, because they're so different. The academia doesn't prepare you for industry, and there's a really steep learning curve once you get into it. So for me, putting that positive content out there and really hoping that more students, more young professionals would get into structural engineering, or at least show them what I do and kind of the stuff that I enjoy. So I'm really hoping that they could find some inspiration, or even just see that, oh, the stuff that you do, for sure I don't want to do. like kind of help them with the clarity of finding their career. And if they like the stuff that I do, because like this is what you're going to be doing once you get into the industry. You're either going to like it or you're not. So helping them find that clarity, and also just helping them once they get into it, kind of helping them with the learning curve in terms of industry standards and procedures, or things that they're going to learn, all the mistakes that they're going to make, trying to ease that off too.
Do you know of anyone that at least now is putting out more positive content on structural engineering, or are you still the one person?
I think in terms of the US, there's definitely some more people that are doing it, which is great. I think the most things that I saw were construction related. I see a lot of construction stuff, but in terms of just structural engineering, I couldn't really find, at least on YouTube, like any big people in the US. But now that I started it, what's cool is that a lot of people have been reaching out and showing me their channels that they're starting to help educate other engineers on what they do. So that's what I found really cool, kind of starting this, I don't know, this wave of more content creators, so we can get more of the structural engineering industry related stuff out there, so students and people can, it's available for them to see, and sharing more of what we do as an industry to the students.
Wonderful. And it's great that you're providing that balance to the people on Reddit where you're just shitting on structural engineering.
Exactly. I was like, man, what happened to you guys? Like, my life's pretty good, you know? It's like, I don't know where you ended up, but but that's what the students see when they Google it. They don't see any of the positive stuff, because all the people that are enjoying it, you know, they don't have time to go post and defend their stuff on Reddit. But at least with the YouTube channel, that when they're Googling it, it's available for them, and they can see at least the positive aspects and the stuff that I like to do.
You know, you're absolutely right. The people that are actually enjoying it, they're too busy enjoying it. The people that don't like it, they got the time to go on there and just say, I hate this shit.
Exactly.
Don't do this. This ruined my life.
Yeah. And if you're a student, that's what you're doing. You're Googling stuff. You're not going to go out and go find a professional and ask them what they're actually doing. That's the best way to do it. But I know the reality is a lot of students aren't going to do that. They're just going to go on Google first. So yeah, just providing that information for them.
So I also mentioned in the intro that you're the co-host of the Structural Engineering Channel podcast. How did that come to be?
It was with Anthony Fasano. I basically, you know, I took some coaching calls with him before, and then he really got me, he got me more involved in professional organizations. And then I was just following up with him after our calls a couple months after, and kind of just showing him my progress and showing him the stuff that I was doing. And then one of the things that I started was a YouTube channel. And then back then I just had like, I don't know, 1 or 2 videos out. And coincidentally, he was trying to start a structural engineering podcast. And he saw my videos, and he liked the way I presented myself, and he liked the way I was, the way I was going with my channel. So then we met up at a structural engineering congress, and you know, that's the first time we met in person. And then, you know, that's when he invited me to be one of the co-hosts for his podcast that he was starting up. So that's pretty much how we got into it, kind of building that small relationship first, and then showing him the stuff that I was doing that was kind of related to, you know, podcasting. I guess like he could see me on camera and kind of the voice that I was giving out and the message that I was giving out. And, you know, when we met in person, it kind of just came up.
So what can people expect from that podcast?
That podcast is mainly geared towards structural engineering professionals. So we interview a lot of successful structural engineers about the work that they're doing in the industry. And it kind of gears more towards the technical topics, but what's trending in the structural engineering industry, and also asking these our guests what they've done in their careers to become successful. So it's mainly geared towards the professionals in terms of the audience.
Well, here's one thing that those professionals didn't do when they got started out. They didn't go on Reddit and hear all these people talking about how they dislike structural engineering. Because if they had, maybe they wouldn't have gotten into it.
Exactly. It always comes back to like, yeah, if you're going to be in this profession for however many years, I mean, you better be sure that you're going to be liking it, because once you get into it and you don't like it, then like, yeah, it's just the fuel. It's not going to keep you through it. You got to like it.
You are a beacon of light for those who are interested in structural engineering, Matt. You need to be commended for that.
Thanks, Neil.
So, some questions about public speaking now. Is that something you've always been good at? And if not, what have you done to get better at it?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Back in high school and even beginning of college, I was really shy, really quiet. I would, I'd be that student that would just go to class and not talk to anybody, and then just go home and not talk to anybody. So really out of my comfort zone when I was in high school and college. But with our college classes, we were, at least at the school that I went to, Cal Poly Pomona, we had to do public speaking. Like, that was a class. And that was my first time, getting in front of students and actually presenting. Like, and yeah, the first time, terrified, terrified, sweaty palms. I'd be shaking even before I got up there. I knew I was going to go next, and I'd be shaking, and really uncomfortable. But it's, as I kept taking that class, kept going up there, it's like, oh, I survived. And I think I'm getting better at this, and reading up on public speaking, even online, things that I could improve, the feedback from my classmates, the feedback from my professor, just keep working on those things for the next time I got up there. I could see myself getting slowly better. And we needed to keep doing public speaking throughout all of our classes. Like, we'd have team projects, and then we'd present at the end of our classes. So it was something that almost became not natural, but you got used to it a little more just because you were doing it each and every class that we were taking. And so it kind of just became a little bit normalized. And then by that time, it was like, oh, it's less fearful. I got used to it, and actually getting a little better at it. So then you can just think of it as a skill, something that you can become better at, because I'm a prime example. I'm still getting better at it, but knowing where I started and seeing where I've come now and the room that I can get better at it's just a skill that you can keep continuously improving upon. So yeah, that's the way I thought of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Practice makes progress when it comes to public speaking, or really anything. The more you do it, the better you get at it, for sure. Do you have a process for putting your presentations together? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, sure. So putting my process, at least my process, let's say I'm doing like a YouTube video or something, it's first defining what the end outcome is. And then organizing it. So let's say I'm making a video on job tips for students. I want them to, like, that's the end goal. I want the students to figure out tips on how to do their job search better in order to find a job. So that's like the end goal. And then I try to break it down and just organizing it into maybe tips or something. So here are like 5 tips that I came up with to better help you out in your job search. And then within each of those tips, I'll make like a bullet points. So, and I always try to give a concrete example. Like, let's say for tip number 1, here's what I'm going to teach you, and here's why it's important. Why it's important, I think, is important because it shows them why that tip is important. Maybe a story, or maybe a concrete example out in the real world, so they pay attention. Like, hey, this is why you need to know this tip. And then I'll go into the technical stuff on how to execute it, or kind of like what the content is of that tip. So I kind of just break it down and into chunks, and always focusing on the end goal, and then kind of do that outline.
Yeah, that's smart that you focus on the end goal initially, so you make sure that you hit it eventually when you finally put your presentation together, everything is kind of streamlined into what that outcome is supposed to be. And then also providing examples is really helpful too. I'm very much more likely to pay attention to presentations which provide examples as opposed to just, I guess, theoretical knowledge. So I fully am on board with you when it comes to that. When it comes to public speaking, do you ever get nervous? And if so, how do you deal with your nerves?
Yes, for sure. For public speaking, I still get nervous. Like even before, I'm still, I don't know, anxious. Um, and to get over it, I always just try to picture it with, my friend told me like nervousness is the same energy as excitement. So I try to picture it that way. So whenever I'm feeling nervous, I always just try to tell myself that, it's excitement. You're excited to go up there to speak in front of these people. And the big booster is, for me, is practicing beforehand on whatever speech you're going to give or whatever talk you're going to give. That way you're confident about it. Like I'm confident talking about the stuff that I know. And if I practiced it like 5 or 10 times, then I know that I'm confident about giving it. So that kind of gives me the extra energy to convert that nervousness into excitement. And that kind of just helps calm it down a little bit for me to go up there.
Reframing nervousness as excitement is smart because it's taking something negative and reframing it into something that's positive. I fully agree with that. And when I think about even nervousness, excitement, whatever you want to call it, it's really important to know that if you're not nervous about going up there, at least in my opinion, it shows that you're not all that interested in the topic. You're not interested in what the people get out of it. You simply don't care. Because if you were to not be, if you are nervous, it's a sign that you care about the outcome, you care about what people get from your presentation, and just it's just a better look as opposed to getting up there and not caring at all.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, but yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like if you're not nervous, and it probably means you don't care about the topic you're going to give. It's kind of like going up there for like I don't know, back in school for a topic that you didn't care about. It's like, hey, here are the facts, blah, 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 blah. And the audience knows it too. Like the audience can see you don't care about it. And yeah, I think that's a good reminder that nervousness, it's good because that means you actually care about it. And if you convert it to excitement, it'll give you the energy to really show your audience that you care about that topic and you care that they're getting value out of your talk.
Wonderful. Thank you for agreeing with me and not contradicting me on my own podcast. That would be kind of embarrassing. It's like, no, actually, I fully disagree. You're full of shit. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Because I think it is like once people kind of get into public speaking, I feel like it's kind of, you guys go through the same things that versus people that never want to public speak. And then I think we all have the same, because we all go through, I think, I don't know, kind of going through the same journey of public speaking, eventually becoming better and better and better at it. And then you see the value of public speaking versus someone that never wants to try it. So I think we all kind of develop, I hope, like similar values of public speaking. We see how important it is and kind of seeing what tips and tricks that we can learn from each other. So I think that's one of the things that once you get good at it, you kind of learn from a lot of speakers, and a lot of the speakers have the same values once they're getting into it.
Excellent. This has all been very interesting and been great to learn more about you, Matt. Thanks for being on the channel. How can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me via LinkedIn, Matt Picardal, or it's with 1 T. You can also find me on my YouTube channel. It's the same thing, Matt Picardal, M-A-T with 1 T, and Picardal, Picardal.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. The first offering of the platform is a public speaking course called Teach the Geek to Speak. To learn more about it, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Everybody take care and stay safe. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Neil.